What's going on, everybody? We are back to do an all new first impressions. We're going to do things a little bit differently than how I did the first impressions video. So, when I first initially was going to do these first impressions videos, I was going to actually do like a bunch of series in one video and do it kind of like my other videos where like I always do like five in a video, like my I've been reading videos, I always do 5 volumes of manga. My currently reading, I always do 5 volumes of manga. Hey, have you read is also 5 volumes of manga. But when I did Gokurakugai, I was so like enamored with that story that I just had to give it its own video. But today, what we're gonna actually be doing is going like almost the halfway to what the initial idea was for the first impressions videos. Only we're going to talk about two series today. We're going to talk about Wild Strawberry, which there's only one chapter so far, but the chapter is really solid. And we're also going to be talking about Beat and Motion. So we're going to talk about both of those. Before we get into that, though, I just really quickly wanted to say, if you were expecting my homunculus video, I'm really sorry, but I'm still not done with it yet. But I just want to show you that I am working on it. As you can see, I'm like almost a quarter. I have like literally like a quarter left to read. But I've been writing, and I've been writing a lot. I have like a massive script. It's still going to be essentially a let's talk about. It no longer has the let's talk about. I don't know how to describe it. It's not. It doesn't have the same way that I do my let's talk abouts. The same format because it just became so huge, and like I don't want to just have like a massive single script. So I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna do like a lot of like mini scripts. So it's gonna be like a big video. It's probably gonna be maybe 30-ish minutes. If I can time it well, yeah, it'll probably end up being like 30 minutes. And yeah, that'll be my homunculus video, and it is coming. I know I did like a whole thing. I did a poll, and for the most part, people really wanted to see a let's talk about. So it's still going to be a let's talk about. There's going to be a little bit more spoilers, but they're not going to be super duper heavy spoilers. I read so many pages, and I'm like, oh my god, I write that down. I gotta write that down, and like my brain is just like going like 900 miles an hour, trying to just consume all of the information because there's just so much condensed information, dude. And this thing is so dense. Like it's huge, dude, and it's dense because like even though like there's parts where like not a lot's said, it just conveys so much info. It's like reading a Shuzo Oshimi book. I don't want to waste a whole lot more time on this intro. So let's get into it. First story right off the bat is Wild Strawberry. Wild Strawberry literally just came out yesterday. As of the making of this video, the story came out yesterday, and I'm reviewing it the day after it came out. By the time that this video actually comes out, it'll have been out a week already, and Chapter 2 should already be out by the time that this video comes out. So Wild Strawberry is by an artist named Ide Yonemoto. And it is so good. So far, what I've read, what I've consumed of Wild Strawberry, it is so solid, dude. I didn't even know that this is a thing that was coming out until I started reading it. Like I was on the Shonen Jump app because I was going to read Beat in Motion because I was just going to do the video for Beat in Motion and that was going to be it. And then I saw Wild Strawberry and it said chapter 1 and I was just like, this art looks kind of random. So I clicked on it and just almost right off the bat, it was just like, holy hell. It reminded me of so many other things. But before I get into like what it reminded me of, Wild Strawberry is like, I don't know how to describe it to you. Like if you've ever seen the film Annihilation, it's kind of like Annihilation meets like The Fireman by Joe Hill. That's like the best way I can think of to describe that story. Meets like Fire Force. Even though I said I wasn't gonna like get into like comparisons, but I feel like that's probably the best way for me to describe it. And like there's this it's Japan and I don't know some future or whatever, and plants have essentially taken over all of Japan. I don't know. It's probably worldwide. In all honesty, it's probably all over the world. But this story is centered in Japan, and there are like these spores that are in the air, and if you breathe in these spores, you become a thing. I think it's called a jinka. That's what you become. you become a Jinka, or like a human flower. If you've read or seen the anime for Hell's Paradise, and you see the dude on the boat, at the beginning, yeah, it's really well drawn in the manga. I haven't seen the anime, but it's really well drawn in the manga by Yuji Kaku, who is a phenomenal artist. And yeah, read Hell's Paradise too, by the way. If you haven't read Hell's Paradise, read Hell's Paradise. But yeah, so Jinka basically exists in this world, and you breathe in these spores and it becomes a part of you, and you become like a human flower. And within the world there are these dudes that are called, like, they have like this really like metal name. It's like this really like it could easily be like a death metal like album title. Yeah, they're called the Flower Funeral Force. So it'd be more like maybe like a doom metal band or something, or like a doom metal album. Funeral Flower Funeral Force. And it does have, near the end of that first chapter, it does have the shonen-esque part of it, but for the most part the chapter is, I think, like 88 pages long, something like that, either 80 or 88 pages long, and I just could not stop reading it. So I just like went through the whole thing, and it kind of reminds me of like Parasite as well. If you've ever read Parasite, it definitely has that like body horror type of deal going on, like your Parasites, Jagan. What else is there that does that has that kind of going on? Yeah, Parasite, Jagan. I mean, like, only one of the other ones I can think of are like King of Thorn, or even Annihilation, which I think I mentioned Annihilation already. If you've ever seen Annihilation or read the book, I've never read the book. I think it's like a series of 3 books. But I saw the film Annihilation, and if you've seen Annihilation, there's something similar to that. There's like a character that legitimately becomes a tree at one point, and it was freaky as hell. And there's this one scene in that film with a bear that is legitimately terrifying. But we're not here to talk about Annihilation, though I legit would love to do a video about Annihilation, even though that movie, like, just goes right over my head, because there's so much going on, and that's a lot smarter than I am. I'm not smart enough to talk about Annihilation, though I would love to. I don't want to like start spoiling like everything that happens in Wild Strawberry. The name kind of is weird too. It has like a really random name, but I think the story is good, and I think, when chapter 2 drops, I think it has the potential to become even better. And there is a thing in there that happens that kind of reminds me of almost said Fire Punch, though there is a little bit of a hint of Fire Punch in this. But I was gonna say Chainsaw Man. Both of those stories are by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who is one of my favorite creators. And yeah, there's a thing in there that reminds me of Chainsaw Man that I'm not gonna go too into in this, in case you haven't read Wild Strawberry yet. But there's a thing with these 2 characters, and it's like a Pochita Denji type of thing that happens, and it's kind of like near the end of the story that has me, like, all right, where's this gonna go? What's gonna happen? Could this potentially be like a dark story? Because it does already, like right off the bat in the 88 pages, has like some crazy looking monsters. Like, our 2 leads at one point get adopted, and their adoptive parents are like giant evil flowers. And it reminded me of Parasite when I saw that. I was like, Jesus Christ, this could easily be, Parasite. And they're actually kind of terrifying. The monsters in this are legitimately like scary looking, and it reminded me like I mentioned before, like King of Thorn, which I saw a lifetime ago. I think I saw the movie like 10 years ago now, and it was pretty brutal. Like, there's this one scene where a bunch of people get pushed into like this giant mouth, like Nope almost. If you've seen Nope, you may know what I'm talking about. But it's legit like pretty freaky, dude. That film was really, really freaky. I'm kind of surprised that I don't own it. Like, I should definitely own that. That should be in my collection. And like the overgrowth, like in this world with these flowers, with the Jinka, like it kind of gives me like Daisuke Igarashi, Daisuke Igarashi's Witches vibes. Like, there's a whole thing in Witches with like plants and whatnot, and humanity essentially destroying the planet. And I did do a video about Witches, which you can find on the channel. You can scroll down and find it. It's down there somewhere. And that is a really phenomenal series. I actually have it right there. Witches is right there on my shelf, right next to The Music of Marie, which I also did a video about. That is a phenomenal story as well. And I just love highlighting different stories, and I'm a huge fan of just storytelling. Like before I got like super deep into just like manga and whatnot, I used to read a lot of books. Like I used to be like an avid reader of just like novels, fantasy novels and stuff like that. And that, being a part of that world before ever getting into manga, it's made me be like really critical and really want to consume things that have a strong point that they want to get across. Even though like I do read a lot of like just random like horny even though I do just read like a lot of random like inappropriate manga, that's like guilty pleasure stuff to me. And like I really don't care, dude. I'll read whatever in like the manga world. I think it's kind of funny though, like because I'll read like a rom-com manga, but there's no way in hell I'm reading a romance novel. Like there's just it's never gonna happen. But like I will 100% read like a rom-com manga. And even though this has nothing to do with rom-com, Wild Strawberry, this is a story that, because of the fact that I said like I read a lot of novels and I'm a fan of the written word and I'm a fan of stories that have substance. This feels like something that could, in the future become a pretty solid story if it's allowed to develop. I feel like under a different mangaka, it could have gotten a lot darker and maybe never gotten an English translation, because there's a lot of stuff that's like really brutal that may never get an English translation. I'm thinking like Signal 100, Pumpkin Night, things like that. Jagan. Hopefully, Jagan eventually does get an English translation because I love that story. And I mean, Muneyuki Ganeshido's other story, Blue Lock, has an English translation, dude. So it's like, come on, bro, Seven Seas or somebody, like pick up Jagan, drop Jagan in English. Let's get it out there. Like I read it because I can read Spanish, and it's like I want it to be made available in English because there is a market for it, and there is definitely 100% people that would buy it. I mean, that the fact that Homunculus, after like how many ever years, after like 20 years, finally got an English translation. Come on, man. You got to give us Jagan. You gotta like Seven Seas or somebody, give us Jagan. We want Jagan. All right, now let's talk about Beat in Motion by Naoki Fujita. This story started off really strong and then kind of fell off for me as it got going. I haven't caught up completely to the latest chapter, which is 11. As of the making of this video, chapter 11 is the latest chapter. I'm in the middle of chapter 10, and I honestly don't think it's going to get like superb in like the next chapter. So I feel like this is a story that had a lot of potential. And when I read the first chapter, I quite enjoyed that first chapter, and I thought that it could be a dark-ish story that had just like this character growth, almost like an Inyo Asano story, where it's just like super dark and super depressing. And I wasn't hoping that it would go the Inyo Asano route and just be miserable as all hell, but I did want it to at least keep some of that and build upon it. And then yeah, like if the character becomes more open or whatever, then it would be earned, and he would go through a whole metamorphosis where he slowly comes out of his shell. Here it feels like almost immediately after he meets this girl. So there's two leads. There's a dude who used to draw when he was a little kid, and then he stopped drawing because of this thing that happened to him with this girl. It's almost like My Dress Up Darling, and I'm going to bring that up again to make another point about My Dress Up Darling. But it's almost like My Dress Up Darling where Gojo, does the Hina dolls thing, and this girl finds it repulsive and she says she hates him or whatever, and he ends up just keeping it to himself until he's like a teenager, and then he meets Marion Kitagawa, I think her name is, and from there he opens back up and starts making her dresses or whatever. And in this, it's kind of like almost like that, where this dude used to draw and he draws this girl, and the girl is like, ew, I can't believe he drew me. That's creepy. And he stops drawing and he joins a band, and he ends up trying to make it with his band. The band never makes it. And there's so much potential right there with just that. The band never makes it, and he grows up and he's kind of like pessimistic. He doesn't think that anyone has the ability to make it. And a friend of his, I think, said they were trying to become a writer or something, and he's like, nah, don't get your hopes up that you will become a writer, because chances are you're not going to become a writer at all. And this girl is listening, and she's like drunk as all hell, and she starts screaming at him. She's like, how dare you tell him not to chase his dream? And it ends up turning out that this girl, is his idol or whatever. Like, he loves her music, but he doesn't know that that girl is the girl who is his favorite singer since he was like a young kid or whatever. And yeah, so it turns out like that he's into animation, something he's doing on the side or whatever he draws. I can't remember 100% what that part of it was, but he draws. He started getting back into it, and she's a singer, and they meet on like this forum or whatever where artists are trying to link up to create projects together. And through meeting her there, they end up meeting in person, and she was drunk the night they met initially, so she doesn't remember him, but he remembers her, and he's like, holy hell, that's the crazy chick that was screaming at me. And he tries to get out of it at first until like they start hanging out, and he realizes that like she's actually like a really cool person. And and then she gets drunk again and gets like really aggressive, but she doesn't get aggressive in the same manner, where like she was screaming at him that like she hated him or whatever. And this time around, she's more like aggressive because she wants him to chase his dreams of being an animator or whatever. And that's where I feel like the potential is wasted, because we set up this story right with these two characters, and I kind of wanted it to go into specifics about their dreams, but instead it's like it feels like an episode of Seinfeld where like they just sit there and gripe about this and gripe about that and say, hey, we should do this, we should do that, but there is no real technicality to it. And one thing that I like about things like like Mad Men or like Succession are that these things, even though like I don't fully understand what the hell's going on in Succession or Mad Men, is that like because it centers around these specific things, it goes into those specific things. And now we'll bring My Dress Up Darling back into the fold. So My Dress Up Darling goes into specifics, right? It breaks down like the costs of the materials to make the cosplays, right? It breaks down all of these different things, like Gojo goes through his whole thing about how he's going to put the hem or do whatever, with the dress, and he's going to make these bags for Marion's boobs or whatever. And it goes into all of these really specific, minute details that to me makes the story not just about these two characters, not just about it being a rom-com, but being about the whole package, and you get a whole complete story and not just a superficial I want to cosplay. You know what I mean? It's not just that. There's a whole lot more going on. And that's why I like that story. I actually like really, really like that story because of the fact that it does, you know, pay so much attention to detail. It's not just about the size of Marin's boobs, and it's not just about the sexual attraction that these two characters have. There's a lot more going on than just that. And it's, to me, that's solid storytelling. And this story is lacking in that. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, or yeah, it could be that I wasn't paying attention or something, but to me so far it feels like it's lacking in that. Okay, he's an animator. Let's get into that. Let's break down, animation. What does he need to do to create this effect or do that, do whatever. All right, the lead girl, I think her name's Nico in Beat in Motion. All right, she's an artist. She's a singer or whatever. Let's break down, chord progressions. Let's break down her, making whatever, if she uses a piano or she uses a keyboard, whatever it is. I want to know, like, I want to see these backgrounds. I want to see her in front of a computer, or whatever she uses. What programs is she using? I want to see these little minute details. And I'm sorry if I'm being pedantic, if, like, this is annoying to you and you're like, why does this guy care so much? Because to me, that's how you, like, make me invested. That's how you get me to want to keep up with these characters, because I'm seeing the actual struggle that they're going through, and I want to see them resolve these issues to get to where they want to be. Otherwise, the story literally is just them griping. That's like, hey, let's go get some coffee, and we're going to gripe about this, and we're going to gripe about that. Hey, you should be an artist because your art is really good, and blah, blah, blah. That's the whole story, is them just griping about what they're going to do. And it's like, I don't want to hate on this story, and I don't want to hate on the mangaka either, because I do like the story. I mean, I've committed this much to it. If I didn't like it, I would have stopped reading it after like chapter 3. But I've committed. I'm in it. I'm reading it. But I feel like there needs to be more of that. There needs to be actual like background, and let's get into like the minute details of the things that these people are into, because then it makes me feel like they're actually into it and not like they're just sitting around talking shit, you know what I mean? Like I want to see the inner workings of these things, and I want to have like a breakdown and have someone really look at it and say what doesn't work or what does work. And there's actually a scene where there's something kind of like that with Nico, the lead girl, meeting with this like talent scout or whatever, that kind of breaks down her songs. But what kind of griped me a little bit is she breaks down her songs, but at the same time, this is literally the first time. It's like chapter 8 or 9. This is like the first time we even learn the kind of music that she plays. As far as I know, I can't remember. Like I'd have to go back and reread, but from what I remember is I don't remember there ever being a point where it's specified the kind of music she plays. So it's like we don't even find out the kind of music she plays until like chapter 8. And like I said, I don't want to sit here and just like dump all over this creator, because that's not why I make these videos. I don't make them to trash talk anybody or to trash talk creators. I just do it as like, to me this is like constructive criticism. You know, like things that I would like to see in a story that I actually like. Like I would buy this volume, like I would buy the first volume of this manga to support this mangaka, because I think that there's a lot of potential there. I just want to see it open up. I want to see the animation open up. I want to see how this dude creates 3D models, or, you know, like yeah, like how difficult is it? How much does he have to do? How many hours does he have to spend? Does he have to like hand draw a bunch of stuff, a bunch of pages to make this? And I want to be there with him as he does these things, because to me that will bring me more into the story and make me connect more with him, because I'm there with him in the struggle. You know, I'm there as he's training, in a sense, you know, since this is a shonen manga and there are the shonen trappings. And they even did the I'm gonna catch up to my senpai thing in this, and that made me laugh, because it's like, it's just inevitable. Like every goddamn shonen story, dude, has that I'm gonna catch up to my senpai thing, and this one did it too. And it's such a played out trope, bro, that like it's just like, how are you still doing it? How are we like in 2023 and we're still doing the I'm gonna catch up to my senpai trope? I do recommend checking out both of them. Wild Strawberry is only 1 chapter deep. Well, by the time this video drops, it's gonna be 2 chapters deep, and it's good. That first chapter is literally like 88 pages. It's like the length of a one shot, but it's solid. I can't wait to see where it's gonna go because of the opening. It really gripped me, and I don't like the title that much, to be honest, but that doesn't matter because the story's solid. And Beat in Motion, I was gonna do Beat in Motion by itself as its own video, but I just had so many gripes, and I did want to get them out. I wanted to share my gripes with you all. And if you liked Beat in Motion, or if you liked Wild Strawberry, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you are reading anything at all on the Shonen Jump or the Viz app that you're reading that isn't a physical volume, let me know in the comments. I want to know what you're up to. I want to know what you're reading. I want to know how your day's going. Please talk to me. I need attention. I'm starved for attention. I'm starving over here. Pay attention to me. No, I'm just kidding. I need people to shower me with their attention and tell me how their days are going. And yeah, that'll make my day feel better to know that you're doing well. And I love that you all hang out with me, and I hope that you'll stick around. I do have the homunculus video dropping probably next week. So hopefully, no promises, but hopefully I'll be able to drop that next week. I'm almost done with it. As soon as I'm done with it, I'm going to start recording that video. I already have my script mostly written, and so once I'm done, it's going to be just like go time and just try to knock that the hell out so we can do that big old homunculus video and get that out. And that is right now my biggest concern. So thank you so much for spending half an hour with me, however long this video is going to be. It means the absolute world. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that everyone that you love is doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Until next time that we meet.
Beaten by by the hands of God. I stand as a wrench between your wheeling cog, fastening my belt, bracing myself to withstand against all odds. Himself shadow runners, battle ready, murder dogs. Rip the skin off your horses, triumph and smash the sorceress. Lethal forces, the failure of your ambitions is more painful than divorces. Smash your dome piece on the doorway, when the door hits, that's it. Call it quits, zipped up in plastic, cremated, melted like elastic. Dreams don't mean shit, in this life they don't exist.